Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome back to Giga-Texas. It's Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2024, and it's a beautiful day to fly for the first time in a while, so it's pretty nice, and we got a lot of different lighting today as well. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about in the intro before we get into the video, a couple of things to look for. First off, on the south end, that extension work is wrapping up. The large crane has now been removed from that center section because there's no longer any space for it because of all of the steel assembly, and it is now laying down on the east side, most likely getting ready for dismantling. Now, they do have that smaller or shorter yellow crane, and that's what's going to finish the steel erection in that center section. Now, on the west side of this extension, on the ground floor, today we see a lot of concrete being poured, and it's most likely in the area where the boring tunnels will come through into the factory. In fact, in addition to the pictures that you can see here with the concrete pour underway, if I come away from the factory towards the highway, I can show you this image. On the ground and the berm, you can see those three posts. Those posts indicate where the tunnel is under the ground and the direction that it is traveling. And in addition to that, from this picture from across the highway, looking out from the boring tunnel site over to the south extension, you can see how this is all lining up. Now, there is no boring tunnel operation underway right now, and I think that's related to where the tunnel is in relation to the work that's going on the inside on the ground floor of that extension. Some additional updates for the extension to look for is that the glass is now being installed on the southwest corner, so it is wrapped around the building and is now proceeding along this part of the structure. And finally, as we saw in my previous video, the small sections of glass that are on the racks being delivered to the south end are being installed on the parapet wall on the south end at the very top. So what this indicates is, unlike my original speculation that the top would have concrete panels finishing it off, instead the entire south end all the way up to the roof and that parapet wall will be glass. So it'll be a very different treatment to what we see at the rest of the factory here. Now, there's a lot more activity around the site today, particularly on the north end, where they are doing more conduit installation and getting ready to go underneath Tesla Road, and also on the east side of the casting machine structure, where we see more of the mud base forms and preparation for concrete in that one large baghouse area that we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the permit for this location. So, as I mentioned, a lot more to see in the video, so rather than talk about it here in the intro, let's get into the drone. Let's fly around the site. Let's take a look at what is going on and talk about it during the video. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a great week.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. was a gorgeous day to fly, a nice sunrise this early morning. So we're going to start off here on the south end. I'll bring the drone down over the cyber pond. Good look at the south end, all of the glass that has been installed, and we also see some of the parapet wall getting glass as well. So just imagine this entire south end as one large glass wall. So it's going to be pretty impressive when it's completed. Now here on the southeast side, taking a look at some of the work that's going on with the structural cooling platform. You can see all the scaffolding that's being installed here. There are some people that think that that is temporary, others that think that it is permanent, and it'll be something I'll have to continue to watch. We can also see the large crane is on the ground getting ready for disassembly, and we'll take a close look at that here shortly. But as I turn back to the building, this is a great look at the entire glass assembly and a close-in view of those small glass panels that are filling out the parapet wall. That is that wall that makes the building appear to be square despite the pitch of the roof for the rainwater management system. And we'll see that all along this entire length on the bottom of the screen. And we can see those rack mounts with more of those square sections. And interestingly enough, these are reused from the original windows on the south end of the building before the extension was installed. So pretty neat to see how this is coming together and what this is going to look like. We can also tell more of the glass panels, the large ones, have been delivered here, ready for installation in these crates. The crane is getting ready to start lifting more, and of course on the southwest corner we see that many of these glass panes have been installed along this angled corner of the building and working their way towards the west side. Now here's a good zoom in of some of the activity that's going on inside the structure. On the ground floor we see many concrete trucks delivering concrete today, so there's a very large pour that is going on, and it's in the area where we might see the boring tunnel. So this is worth watching to see how this develops. On the second floor, many of those large gray pipes that have been delivered, these are all being fabricated on the far east side of the site, and I will show you the workshops and some more of these pipes under construction later in the video. A good look here at the ground floor, the amount of concrete that has been poured, additional work that is underway for installation of some equipment, and also some of the fire system that's being installed underneath the ceiling on both the first and second floor. As I continue to keep the zoom in and show you inside, good view of the second floor mezzanine and even a third floor segment in that new area that has been assembled. And of course here all of the concrete trucks in that area where it's lined up with the boring tunnel, and many workers on the left hand side of the screen where we see those concrete wall segments that have been installed. And I'm going to pull away from the building for a second. What I'm trying to show you is if you look on the ground, you will see the clearing and also some of these three stakes that are in the ground, these large stakes. And that is where the boring tunnel is proceeding under the ground, and that is showing you approximately its location right now under the ground. So a lot of progress with the boring tunnel, but I think it's delayed now, or at least in a pause until they get the work inside completed. A good look at Cybertrucks that are exiting the factory here at the new end-of-line exit point, and also more of the Cybertrucks next to this trailer in this small parking lot, and they are definitely continuing with the production of the Cybertrucks. We'll see many of them on the west outbound lot and a lot on the east, the old testing lot, and we'll see that later in the video as well. As I come up over the roof, we see some of those pipes for exhaust systems waiting for installation. We fly over the solar panels to the southeast corner, the original corner of the building, where we see the steel assembly around the tanks, the work that's going on with the pond reshaping, and a good view of that work with the River Road extension as well. Of course, the cooling structural platform with those large I don't know if you want to call them scaffolding or maybe it's a permanent structure. We shall see. And again, the crane that is on the ground getting ready for disassembly, as it is no longer required. And the reason why it's no longer required will become pretty evident as I turn back towards the east. You can see this open section of the structure. This is to allow the last remaining crane to be removed once the steel assembly gets to this point. And as you can tell, the building is now pretty much contiguous with the steel all the way across, with the exception of this one small area where the crane is located. And this steel assembly will continue. Most likely at the rate that they're going, by the end of the week it will be completed, and I'll be watching to see if they do a tree topping ceremony, which would indicate the structural work is completed. A good look at how the roof weatherproof membrane and installation panels are being prepared for installation. Some of the work on the left where it's completed. We also see what looks to be some plywood on the ground being used to move materials on the right-hand side of the screen, and more of those white square items. Those are the insulation panels waiting for installation. As I move over towards the original building's wall, you can get a good sense with the workers, their height, how tall this wall segment is. It's about 2 meters tall above the current roof section that is being installed on the extension. As I get to the edge of the roof, what I want to show you is the boring tunnel operation in the top center, and at the bottom of the screen is where those stakes are that I had mentioned to you earlier of how it is progressing underneath the roadway. There's some more right at the bottom of the screen and coming over to this part of the site. And we're going to resume on the other side of the highway. You can see all the stakes showing where the boring tunnel center line is located, and of course the exposed portion of the boring tunnel here in this section. And what I don't see is a lot of activity today, and this continues no activity for the last couple of days. And my conjecture is that they've progressed far enough that they need to wait for the work inside the building extension to get to a point where they can resume the tunneling. As you can tell, the conveyor belt has no dirt on it right now, and there's not really any crew on site that I can see at the moment. So I think that the boring tunneling operation is paused for the moment. A good view of the three tanks that are part of the grout plant, the power generation facilities, which powers the tunnel boring machine. You can see some of those yellow cables underneath the conveyor, and the liner trucks, those red and white items that bring the concrete liners into the tunnel. Also, the spoils bin is not active. The excavator is not in the view here as well, which is another indication that the work is not progressing at the moment. Some more of the concrete liners waiting on the ground next to some of these control and storage trailers as well, and a good overall view of the boring tunnel site. And I take that back. There is one worker on site today walking out of that one trailer. But a good view across the boring tunnel site through this dirt area, which is getting prepared for concrete, the end-of-line facility, and of course the outbound lot. And also we are flying over the West Warehouse on wheels. Good look at the material staging yard in the left-hand side and center of the screen, of course downtown Austin as well, and the north-south road that connects River Road on the south and Tesla Road on the north. So as we get closer in to the outbound lot, I'll give you a chance to take a look at all of the activity here with the vehicles, the trucks picking up most of the vehicles here on the left-hand side of the screen, and the majority of what you will see are Cybertrucks and not as many Model Ys today. The east side of the end of line has no real vehicles being parked or even transiting through today, just maybe one or two. And we do see more of the Cybertrucks lining up on the north end to go through processing through the end of line. The white tank is a pressure washing station, and we can see that some of the Cybertrucks are having a little of the dirt sprayed off. They do pick up some dirt and mud on their transit from the factory to this location, at least right now, as Giga-Texas continues to be a construction site. Now this north lot is got a lot of the Cybertrucks, and I'll give you a closer view of that here in a second. But on the left-hand side of the screen, we see the test track and some more of the vehicles coming in towards this area. Now, as I continue to fly over this north lot, we can get a good sense of the number of Cybertrucks that are stored here today. And this number does continue to ebb and flow as they arrive, they go through checkout, and then they are moved to the outbound lot and transported off-site. We will see many more of the Cybertrucks on the east old testing lot later in the video. I wanted to fly over this tree belt and near these houses because I wanted to show you where utilities are being installed. You can see some of the work on that street for the housing complex and the blue pipes at the bottom of the screen. I've talked to some residents that live in this area, and they confirm that the utilities are being connected through the system that is in the housing area, and it will expand the, at least in this case, the water line throughout this section of the Giga-Texas property. And here's a good view of the work that is underway in the housing complex on the left, and on the right, the pipes and the excavator doing additional work here. So I'm going to fly up to the north along this west support facility area, show you the roadway that connects to the north and some of the trucks that have picked up new vehicles, and they are heading to Tesla Road, eventually onto the highway in the middle of the screen, and then that will be going up to the Taylor, Texas railhead and other distribution sites around Austin. As we get to this north staging location, we can see the two tents that are pretty easy to see from around the entire site. A lot of the materials that are being stored here, some of the trailers for the contractors, more materials on the left, some storage and workshop containers in the middle, and just some additional steel items being stored here. As we cross over this north-south road, I wanted to show you this area where it appears that a lot of the materials, pipes, and the Evapco units that may be slated for that structural cooling platform on the southeast side are waiting. We can also see some ductwork on the right-hand side, bases for the Evapco fan units, more of the pipe segments, and some crated up items here, as well as the actual fan units and the base units here waiting for their turn for installation. More steel being stored here temporarily. Some of this steel is being used for the south extension, and then some is being used for other parts of the expansion and construction around Giga-Texas. And of course, more of the steel here on the north end and right next to Tesla Road. So I'm going to turn back and give you a good view across this staging location to Giga-Texas on the upper left, and the outbound lot, the west facility, support facility on the upper right-hand side of the screen, and this center staging location, so you can get a good idea of where all this is located. So let's prepare to cross over the highway and resume the narration on that side. We'll start here by the megapacks, looking off to the east and to the south now. I'll bring the drone down in lower. I want to show you where the work on the conduit on the north side of Tesla Road continues. And not only that, but we can see that much of the conduit on the left is having the trench work filled back in now. So that indicates it's completed through this point. And on the right-hand side, we can see conduit and the concrete vaults, plus workers preparing to extend the conduit through and under Tesla Road, the parking lot, and to the northeast corner of the casting machine structure. And we'll get a good view of that area here shortly. But I'm going to get ready to cross over this north intersection with Tesla Road, over the cyber berms and the landscape section, and then over to the northwest corner of the factory, where the work continues expanding the production lines for the 4680 inside this portion of the factory. And the work does continue despite some conjecture that maybe some changes are being made to 4680 production here at the factory. I don't have any information that can confirm that. All I know is that there are many people speculating about what is going on. If I can get some actual information, I will pass that along when I get a chance. But this is a good view of the entire north end of the building. I'm trying to take advantage of the lighting here this early morning with the sun and clear skies. And as I turn towards the northeast corner, I'll bring the drone back in. This is a good view of the conduit at this section, and it looks like additional work is being done, preparing to extend the conduit further to the north so that eventually it connects to that conduit coming under Tesla Road. But we also see some more of the castings and casting racks on the left side. The berm on the left has had the grass seed mixture sprayed on it, and we see more of the casting racks. Some of the collectors for either the Baghouse or the furnace on the inside, plus additional materials. And we see this truck preparing the ground for more of the screw type piers, while the 3 receiving doors on the right are getting reworked as well. As I get closer into this portion of the site, this is where the main construction for the Baghouse filtration system is being constructed. We see the mud base, the screw type pier, tops sticking out of the mud base, and forms being prepared around, giving us a good indication of what the shape of this facility will look like. And this is also preparing for the rebar that will help reinforce that slab for that Baghouse filtration system. As I climb up higher, good view to the south along the east side of the building, the multi-level parking garage, that east testing lot with a lot of the Cybertrucks, and of course a look back here at the northeast corner, showing all of the areas around the casting machine structure that are being reworked right now. So let's move the drone to the southeast from this location over the east parking lot, and let's take a look at some of the activity on this part of the site. A good view of the robotic avenue extension, the steel corrugated pipes lined up for installation, the 2 cranes remaining here, not moving yet, and of course on the ground we see more excavation work with the steel corrugated pipes now along the north side of the multi-level parking garage. More work on the ground with some smaller trenching on the north side as well, and it looks like on the east side ground floor there's still needs to have the concrete poured. On the roof, all the concrete's now been poured. Most of the poles for the lighting have been installed. There are a few on the roof waiting for installation on the east side. Most of the markings here on the west side, and a good look at these ramps for the vehicles, plus the elevator shaft and the stairwell next to where we see the handicapped painted parking spaces. As we fly over the sedimentation basin, we get a good view of this former east testing and calibration lot, where there are a lot of Cybertrucks, many parked under the superchargers. Also in the middle section here, we do see a few of them moving occasionally, so they will come over here, they will go through whatever final checkouts or completion is needed, and then they're moved over to the west side. And as I continue to fly a little lower, I'll bring the drone around and we can see the helicopter pad, the Rainmaker on the left, and the wind tunnel on the right. And I'm still waiting to find out when and if those items are moved over to the west side as well. So as I pull away to the east, I want to go up over the tree belt and show you not only the recycle yard that you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen and part of the warehouse on wheels on the right-hand side of the screen, but I'm going to give you a good look at the workshops and all the pipes that are being fabricated here, many of which we have seen in the second floor of the south end. And on the bottom of the screen, you can see some of those pipes, those gray pipes that are in the process of being fabricated, some more underneath the workshops, and these will eventually find their way to the south end extension of the main factory. So a lot of activity on this side of the east side of Giga-Texas. In addition to that, I'm going to pause here next to the trees. You can see a lot of workers with what looks to be some scaffolding items, and it looks like there is just a buzz of activity in this part of the site this morning. So I'm going to fly up over the rest of the east side and get over closer to the battery cathode plant and the rounded top structure, which is the crash test facility. We see Tesla Road extension on the left of the screen, still getting that steel corrugated pipe installed, and then we'll see that road work continue through this area. And as I bring the drone down on this east side, we get a good view of the water detention pond, more of the crash test facility. And as I continue to pull the drone away, we'll see some more vehicles that are waiting for their turn to go through the crash testing. And many of the Cybertrucks that we saw parked here on the previous day appear to have already gone through crash testing. So whatever they are testing, whether it's different configurations or perhaps different situations, but this is common among most automotive manufacturers and continues throughout the life cycle of each of the products. Good view of the entire east side here today. We continue to pull away to the northeast. Good view of the overall complex of structures here. And I'm going to bring the drone up and give you a quick tour far to the northeast where we can see the dirt, the storage of some of the old concrete, some of the materials waiting for installation, and additional work just waiting for perhaps new construction here on the left-hand side of the screen at some point in the future, but not really see a whole lot of changes today. As we continue to fly over the tree belt and get back to the north end of the battery cathode plant, a good look at the overall west side and how we're still waiting for this prepared surface to be completed, and then most likely see more of the paving work in this area. Because of the location of the sun, I'm trying to give you a good view of the die shop from this perspective, the kiln or furnace on the north end, and many of the materials that have been delivered recently waiting for their turn to move into the die shop for installation. The chiller plant looks like there are workers near those tanks and vaporizers today. Additional changes perhaps. We don't see the wall panel replaced in that area where the plastic was located, and additional views here of just down the alleyway of how the activity at this part of the factory looks today. Again, more work being done near those tanks. And a good look across the alleyway all the way through the expansion lot to the multi-level parking garage where we visited earlier. So I'll bring the drone up to a higher altitude and just give you a good look at many of the areas that we viewed today in the video. As always, thank you very much for your support. I do very much appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.